Good evening, everyone. We're going to start the meeting of the City Council Cabinet. This meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. The recording of the meeting will remain online for 4 years, and if you are present in the chamber, you are consenting to appearing in the recording and broadcast, which may also be used for training purposes. I don't have any apologies, so I'll just tick that one off. I don't think anybody's got any declarations of interest. No. The minutes of the meeting on the 15th of October, are you happy that they're signed as a true and accurate record? Okay, I'll do that now. Next item is public questions. Good to see you again, David. And you promised me really good, concise supplementaries.
I am. Yeah, I mean, really, it's what is going to happen about this hotel. I mean, I work over that railway station when I'm not in other places, and we used to use that hotel for all our meetings. People stay overnight, and it was a fantastic little hotel and just been refurbished. And now the ceilings are falling down in it, the building's deteriorating, and it's literally propped up with scaffolding inside. It needs to come back into economic use, preferably as a hotel with bars and cafes and the rest of it. It's in the major transport hub. It's not going to compete with the new Forum Hotel because it's a different market. But I wonder what the council really can do to serve notices, take action, hold meetings with this council and the MP and try and put some pressure on the owner to make sure the hotel's brought back into use, because it's really required at the railway station. It's in the ideal position to be a hotel. Certainly don't want it turned into a hostel of any description, or even some sort of refugee hotel either. That wouldn't be suitable for the railway station. I'm against refugees, make that clear. So it's really asking you what action you can take.
Let's put it this way. It's disappointing that the owner of the building is allowed it to go into decline. It quite clearly needs refurbishment, restoration, and probably repurposing if it can't be used as a small hotel. I think because of the completion of the Forum, which is fairly close, and the development that's going to take place there, it might well be a more fruitful proposition for anybody putting money into the station hotel. I mean, I think the thing is that if it's a rundown area, people might not want to invest in it. But if we're right next to the Forum and a lot of office people working in the offices and everything else like that, we've got a new bus station, and of course the railway station is being refurbished. So there might be a better opportunity. Officers are in contact with the owner. We don't have the resources to take it on and do it ourselves, but I totally agree with you. I think the owner's got to come up with a really considered plan for that building, and it's in a prime location now, as the Forum is completed, and all those people are now working in that office, and there'll be people coming into Gloucester to meet the businesses that operate there and everything else. So it's a good opportunity, but the owner needs to get a move on.
Is about the area around Market Street and now Northgate. It appears that through the cycling, I'm not against cycling either, through the cycling spine, there's now going to be a movement of more bus shelters and more bus routes. Well, I've done some work recently in South Gloucestershire, just down the road, and in Bristol with the mayor, Metro Mayor, she may join. And they go out to consultation, have a conversation with the community about how they're going to regenerate the area with the public transport. and I know Declan kindly rung me, and I do believe there needs to be some discussion of a master plan for that area between, as long as Gloucestershire County Council exists, or as long as this council exists, which won't probably only 18 months, but some sort of master planning for that area where the transport and the land use are in the same ballpoint. Because at the moment, you've got the Highway Authority doing their bit, the bus station's owned by yourself. We may now have some resolution where the night buses can stay in there. Thank you for the bus station staying open all night. That was quite a scare, that letter. But the shelters are, well, they're like the ones in Hucklecote, just under from where I live at the moment. But, you know, they're not designed, none of that's designed for interchange and quality. We did get some help. Nick Small from Go Ahead Group, he was with Stagecoach, and Rupert Cox is now with Go Ahead Group, that's Oxford Bus Pullums. They said they did, when they were involved in discussion with the forum, they were given assurances that would be designed in a way that would fit in for public transport, not the shelters that we've got down there now, which are not suitable for mainline buses and saying welcome to the city centre. So what I've learned in the last few days or few weeks is that we don't have joined up planning here, and I'm determined to have joined up planning.
Yeah.
All I ask is that meeting between the officers of this council and the county about the regeneration of that area, the public transport, walking and cycling is done as one, because that's how land use and transport planning should work. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that area of the city has been in decline since Wilkinson closed, and also the Sainsbury's in Northgate Street, and it's a really disappointing there. And also the state of Spread Eagle Court, which we have taken some action on to board it all up, and we're charging the owner for that, the cost of doing that. As far as the cycle spine is concerned, there is a public event tomorrow. Both myself have been, and Rebecca Trimnell have been in conversations with the engineers behind the cycle spine and what they want to do. We're not particularly happy with some of the quality of the materials, such as the replacement of York stone with tarmac, imprinted tarmac. And it looks like, you know, they run out of money, and what we're getting in the city centre is not as quality as it would be. We are just about to commission some consultants to look at the master planning of the whole of the city, but we're going to particularly look at the area in Eastgate Street and in Northgate Street. So those areas where we want to investigate and come up with more details, because they're critical areas for the city, and see what can be done with them. That's where we are at the moment. But I know the bus stop from outside the garage in London Road is moving down to Northgate Street. So the buses which will now come out of Spread Eagle Spread Eagle Road will be going towards London Road. That there might well be some. They're moving that bus stop there. So, but the county council's ploughed on with their cycle route, and not everything they're doing on the cycle route is popular with the public. Though to some extent, cyclists are going to get a
can we at least have a
place.
conversation with them over the planning conditions for the forum and about their bus shelters and designs? I mean, if Declan can take that up with the county and see if we can get some sensible city centre quality bus shelters rather than stuff that I find out in Hucklecote or Quedgley. I think perhaps hold them to account a bit about what they're doing down there, because they're not consulting really.
I've recently changed the portfolio, so I put Councillor Rebecca Trimnell in charge of the city centre public realm. She's tasked with challenging the county council until we get the Greater Gloucester Council to get on and improve the works that they're doing there, and we're not prepared to see sort of cheap changes to Northgate Street and Southgate Street that we've been getting. We want the job done properly if they're going to do it. And as far as the consultation is concerned on the cycle spine, it's been particularly late in the day. I'm the county councillor for Kingsholm and Wootton. and I've only just had a proper briefing on it, and Rebecca joined me because she's a councillor for Westgate, but I think the county council needs to improve its works and what it does. Next question.
The fight it's not going into what may be the full council meeting, but it is of concern. Gloucester, along with Cheltenham and Tewkesbury, are principal urban areas in the southwest. But you could say it's a city region. It's very urban, apart from the airport. So we're very concerned that whatever local government reorganisation takes place, and of course, if we were going to go for an urban authority, the three should have come together, like Bournemouth and Christchurch. But the issue is this structure plan and how we manage that, because at the moment that structure plan is key to Gloucester and regeneration, and we just want to make sure that structure plan isn't lost in any shape or form, because it's able to allow urban growth, regeneration across what is pretty well an urban area. Is that being worked on to make sure that doesn't go?
Thanks for your question. Yeah, I agree. It's an important project that we do, working with Cheltenham and Tewkesbury. It's allowed us to surpass our housing targets and pool our developer contributions so we can put them towards large infrastructure projects like the M5, Junction 10. We're working really hard to get the new SLP through by the next December's deadline so that it's locked in. And then we're hopeful, I mean, we don't know, if it's one unitary, we cover half the council. So, it'll be there on a plate ready, and we're hopeful that if we can lock it in to the point where it's pretty much finished, then, it's there, and it would be silly for them to start again, really. Obviously, if it's an east-west, that's a bit more of a problem because Tewkesbury and Cheltenham will be in the east. So I'm not quite sure how that would look. So it kind of depends on what happens at LGR, but all we can do now is carry on, work on the next form, which is the SLP, and make sure that we get that in time by next December, so that we can make it kind of as bulletproof as possible.
Down the road in.
Yeah, hang on. We've finished the answers to the questions. If you haven't got any further questions, can we move on?
It's gone to the combined authority. That was the only point I was going to make. That's all I was going to say.
Have we got any petitions or deputations? I haven't been notified of any. Nope, so we'll move on. We've got leader and cabinet members question time. We've got 15 minutes for that. That's from the members of the council. And Councillor Condor is not here, so I'll go straight to Steph Chambers.
Could I just confirm we have 15 minutes for questions? Is that all it is?
That's all it is, yeah.
We'll have to relook at that. Right, my first supplementary is in relation to the procurement of the leisure contract and it being split. So when the council tendered the main leisure contract, we used a specialist consultancy because there were few firms that dealt in leisure services that size in the country. But project management is different. There are many capable Gloucestershire companies who never even saw this opportunity, let alone had the chance to bid. Why was this contract, worth over £500,000, handed out as a direct award with no competitive process, especially when local firms could have delivered it? The transparency notice does not make it a legal procedure. And how can the council claim this is value for money for the taxpayers?
If you look at the actual decision notice, I'm just thinking back to the discussions I had. I think the reason why we went with this particular company is, first of all, we had to do it for VAT reasons, so we could claim the VAT back. plus the fact that they have a long-established record of working with providers such as Freedom Leisure, and we thought that they would be the ones who would be the best fit for the council. I don't have any details of any other companies that we might have considered, but certainly that was the reason why I signed it off. And as I said, it was already in the budget as part of the 8 million expenditure programme that was agreed by council.
Okay, question number 3.
Okay, there was no answer there as to why there was no competitive tender. So I will be following that one up. For my question number 3 is to the leader. So the corporate plan covers the entire span of the council business. It's not just your personal remit. When the Liberal Democrats took over, you increased cabinet from 5 to 7 members, costing taxpayers more, arguing that the previous cabinet was too stretched and you needed at least 7 roles. Indeed, you sought 7.5 roles. Yet now, when overview and scrutiny has formally recommended that all cabinet members attend the next corporate plan review, you claim you can handle it alone. This contradicts your own justification for expanding cabinet and ignores a clear recommendation from overview and scrutiny. Modern leadership is about trust and collaboration, not control. So do you trust your cabinet? And if you do, why are you refusing to let them attend as requested by overview and scrutiny?
The request from overview and scrutiny is a request. The next presentation on the update on the corporate plan will be in 6 months' time. It is responsibility the process is that the cabinet member who is writing or putting the report to cabinet will be also the same person that would present it to scrutiny if scrutiny calls it in for discussion. That's the rules. I'll have a conversation with the chair at some point about the next presentation, but as far as I'm concerned, both myself and senior officer handled all the questions which were necessary. This is not an opportunity for a deep dive into detail. This is about the strategic process overview of the projects that are in the corporate plan and how they're progressing.
Thank you. My next supplementary. The response to the question says it is not feasible to quantify overt surveillance operations. Yet data protection law requires councils to keep detailed records for every use of cameras and monitoring, covering purpose, retention, access and privacy assessments. If you cannot quantify these operations, how can you comply with the legal requirements for transparency and accountability? Does this raise serious concerns about how often residents are being monitored without clear oversight? Because if you can't count it, you can't control it, and that really worries me.
It's quite clear with the report on RIPA that no covert monitoring has been done by anybody in this authority under this administration.
Sorry, just in case you missed.
Don't interrupt me.
I thought you
So
misheard
there's
me.
been no covert use of the RIPA policy, and that's what the policy is. As far as all the other things, taking a photograph of a building which is falling down or doing things like that is not something that would be regularly recorded, so that so it just doesn't happen that way. The situation is, under the RIPA policy, that no covert observations or actions have been taken by this local authority. And I would disagree with you how you want to monitor it, and monitor the detail. That maybe an officer's gone to a park and taken a photograph of something because it's damaged, or gone to a building when they're doing a planning application. Those things do not get completely recorded on every detail. Otherwise, you bog the council down in unnecessary detail, which is what you seem to always want to do. We've got to get on with the job with limited resources, and it's not the normal process in any authority in the UK. Can you move on to your next question?
So just to confirm, you don't know if you're abiding by data protection, because there are other things within that question that I asked you, not just taking a photo in a park, but people's houses.
There's no supplementary, and if you've got any evidence of breaking data protection, then you should report it to the monitoring officer. You haven't got any information or proof of that, so let's just say we're not doing anything like that. You need to prove it. Can we now move on to your next question?
Yep, I'd just like to say it's this council's responsibility to prove it is complying with the law, not mine to prove it isn't. So my next supplementary is, actually, going back to my original question, there was no answer contained from my question. So the original question asked for, sorry, it's just here, the original question was to provide a list of all planning applications for developments over 10 units that have been approved in the last 3 years, and there was no detail there even answering that question. My supplementary was, if once I had that answer, is to ask what the council's doing to ensure that we are building on all our brownfield land that already has planning approval, and how you're actively working with developers to bring forward these sites. There are numerous sites that have been approved in the last 3 years. I don't know the exact number, that have not started or been completed. Is the council concerned about getting a reputation that puts off developers from working in Gloucester? Can you provide the answer to the original question? And there was something else. No, that'll be it for now. Thank you.
Sarah?
So this was attached to the answer. This was a list of the ones you asked for. It's attached in the answer. When I got it from the same document, so it's a list. So, and our officers are really good at working with developers. You know, if sites stall, they go out and speak to them, find out what's happening, work with them. And, you know, this council's very good at working with brownfield sites, working with developers. We're very proactive in getting things up and running. So I think we've got a very good reputation of working with developers and getting things over the line. So I'm very happy with the performance of this council in that regard.
Can I just say that there was a clerical error and the document in question wasn't published on the website by mistake, but it will be.
Councillor Patel, I think you're next with question number 7.
Thank you very much, Leader. Question 7, supplementary. Pleased to see that the survey was carried out in May of last year. Is the council able to provide members with any specific data around that survey in terms of staff engagement, staff morale, feedback on leadership? Would it be at all possible to obtain a copy of the or overview of the staff survey results?
I can certainly do that and get a summary for you. From memory, it was quite good, but, you know, we have to keep, it's a moving target, as you say. So the more we'll be doing the new one fairly soon as well, and it's an ongoing process.
Right, question number 8.
So question number 8, thanks for the response. So in summary, Tall Ships Festival without any tall ships, what's the budget for the cultural programme for 2027 for the 200-year anniversary of the docks? Thank you.
Caroline?
Thank you, Councillor Patel. The celebration that's being planned for 2027 is the 200th anniversary of the docks. It's not going to be called the Tall Ships Festival. It's going to be a much expanded programme of activities to celebrate the whole 200-year history of our historic docks. GUST is a local Gloucester-based charity that are working on our business plan at the moment. They're consulting with local organisations, including the Canal and Rivers Trust, to identify sources of funding, as well as how we can badge existing events that go on during the year to come under the general theme of the 200th anniversary. So the key thing is that we'll be making sure we don't overspend on this festival. We'll be making sure that everything we plan and book is accounted for, is budgeted for. Unlike the previous event, we've learnt the lessons from that one, and we won't be relying on ticket income for this one.
Okay, that's question number 9, I think.
Thank you again to Councillor Courtney. Thank you for your response. Unfortunately, there are many members at GL1, women members, female members, and girls as well, who are unhappy that the women-only gym is going to be closed. I understand there was a meeting held on the 13th of October at 4 p.m. at a time when most people are at work or parents are looking after their kids after school, etc. So it wasn't the best time. Yet there were still over 50 women who attended that meeting. In your response, you talk about a wellness studio, but that does not include gym provision, whereas the women's gym is open all the time at the moment, and the change will have an overall negative impact on health inequalities and activities for women. Gym classes are very specific and tailored to those specific needs rather than more flexible. So that will be a big loss. And when that impact screening assessment was carried out in May of 2024, stated the response on that was there was no negative impact. But
Can you get to your question?
so all these women are asking for is some dedicated gym space. Is this something that would you be happy to speak to Freedom Leisure on perhaps reconsidering their decision, because it will have a big impact on women, especially in deprived areas as well, such as my ward. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Patel. Yes, I'm already in discussions directly with users of the current ladies' gym, with Freedom Leisure, with our head of culture, and with Active Gloucestershire to understand completely the concerns that women have. One of the big complaints we have about the current ladies' gym is that the equipment is really out of date. It's not in good condition. A lot of those machines and equipment are now obsolete. They can't be repaired or replaced. So we're very limited with how we can make it a better experience for users of the ladies' gym. And that's why the investment, the £8 million capital investment that we've committed to, is going to introduce a lot of really new and more efficient and better equipment for exercising. I think some of the equipment in the ladies' gym doesn't even have any beneficial fitness impact, as research has shown. However, we do take the concern seriously about wanting their own space, and we're looking at options. We would have to find additional funding for that. It's vitally important that the 8 million that we've allocated and budgeted is used for what is in the plan, because we cannot overspend on this. We've made a commitment to council members, to members of the public, on how this money will be spent. But we are investigating, with the help of Active Gloucestershire, whether there's a potential for funding to refit a space that's in the gym.
Oh, okay, that's time up. Move on to the next agenda item. Next item on the agenda is the corporate plan progress report. As members will be aware, the new corporate plan for 2025 to 2028 was approved earlier this year. There were, when we went out to consultation, just 57 actions. That was increased to 60 during stakeholder conversation, and some of the drafting was changed as well to take on board what people were saying. And then in negotiation with one of the opposition groups, in order to get a majority through, that was increased to 71. And bearing in mind that the last corporate plan by the former administration, there were only 45 actions, and the previous one before, there was only 38 actions. So we are trying to work hard to deliver more for the City of Gloucester than previous administrations had done. The report suggests that 80% of the projects are expected to be completed on time, which is the end of this council. If some of them we find are not going to be completed on time, they will drop off and they might well come as a risk in a 6-monthly review. And 20% of them are progressing with some risk of delay. Bear in mind that this council's financial position means it's going to be difficult in some cases to deliver what we want to deliver. There's also the issue of the human capacity of the organisation. We just can't keep adding to it. And of course, the thing that's affecting it as well is local government reorganisation. And the fact that that might well cost us in order to just progress to the point of the new vesting day for the new authority. That might cost this authority £1 million, which we just do not have. So that's the difficulty. The proposal is that there will be another review in 6 months' time, but I think we're making good progress, particularly in view of the fact that we asked the officers to do more than the previous administration did. Maybe that's why we need 7 members of the Cabinet to make sure we're keeping a close eye on the work that's being done. Anybody got any comments?
Yeah, I was going to say the same as you, which is I think it's a really positive outlook that we have 57 actions that are either complete or on track to complete. When you compare this with the 45 in total that were in the last plan, and given the financial situation that we've inherited, it's looking in a very strong position. And it demonstrates the energy and the efficiencies that have been introduced with the new administration. And it's thanks to the really hard work of the officers as well to stepping up to the challenge. Just to sort of discuss some of the points specific to culture and leisure. One of the complete actions is the successful opening of Blackbridge. The opening ceremonies were attended by Her Royal Highness Princess Anne and by Stephanie Peacock, MP. And I think that demonstrates the significance of this milestone achievement. And I see that when I'm walking my dogs, I see that phase 2, which is the levelling of the pitches, is now well underway as well. So we're really on track to having a finished product there. We've just talked about the planning of the 200th anniversary of the docks. So that's building up to be hopefully a really impressive and enjoyable festival in 2027 for us all to look forward to. And similarly with GL1, one of our key objectives was to secure the future of the leisure centre under the new provider, which we've done, and we're already starting to see real benefits there. The total participation, we just had a performance review with Freedom Leisure, and we can see that total participation at GL1 is up 41% on this time last year. So things are going in a really good direction there, particularly strong showings for gym and tennis. Even Learn to Swim is its highest number that it's been this quarter, and we've exceeded the number of school pupils, the target number of school pupils attending Learn to Swim lessons. So starting to pay dividends. Also the solar panels that we put in, we're seeing that we're on track to reduce our energy consumption and energy bills as well this year. So that's a win for our investment in the property and for the environment as well. So yeah, lots of things to be positive about, I think, with this report.
Lou?
Yes, I think we're doing very well, really, on a backdrop of definitely uncertain times in local government. We're on sort of target for lots of the actions, which I think, again, is a testament to the officers' hard work. The delivery of housing, especially around Wessex House, I understand is sort of progressing nicely, and will eventually become a great asset for the city. Bringing forward the housing strategy, which will deliver for Gloucester residents, especially around homelessness and rough sleeping. But quite importantly, we've managed to secure over 2.1 million in funding to date under this administration for homelessness, with more in the pipeline, making this corporate plan transformative for the city. So I'm very, very pleased with the progress to date.
Anyone else? Sebastian.
Thank you, Leader. It's a really positive and encouraging report. And I think if you look at some of the aspects of my portfolio, I'm particularly pleased in what we're doing on the area of graffiti, for example. Point 21 in the list of actions, we established a graffiti busting task force and we had a graffiti action plan. And this has resulted in Yubico having the ability, when they're out and about, for members of the team to just deal with graffiti there and then. And I think it was discussed in the performance meeting last week that I attended, where it's not always recorded on the public reports because they will just get those in and they will deal with them. But actually, Yubico officers are dealing with extra cases of graffiti whilst they're out and about now. So it's actually an even better picture than it looks on the public reporting. And also, if you look at the points and further in the report under my portfolio, 56, 57 and 58, how we're working with Yubico to continually improve the service. I think it's really important to note that the street cleansing is well above 95% satisfaction, and that's significantly above target, and we're hitting all our targets there. We've got the second weed clearance machine now in operation, and that's further enhancing the work. And we are continually making improvements to our recycling service with, of course, the spectre of local government reorganisation hanging over our head and what we might need to do at that point. But it's a really positive picture. I think the one thing that we took from the meeting last week, the headline was that the Yubico depot is completely clear of recycling at the moment. They've managed to get it all sold in the market, and we're getting an increased, even on earlier in the year, we're getting an increased income from our recycling. So all really good and really positive. So I'm very pleased with this report.
Sarah.
Yeah, I echo that. I'm really pleased with this report. It shows all the hard work that we're doing. In my portfolio, there's lots of progress, which is really great. We've got the master plan that's coming along, which is looking at Gloucester as a whole and where we want key developments, not just piecemeal that happened before. We've got the area of special control report progressing well, looking at how we can have more control over shopfront designs in the city. Officers are working hard to gather evidence as part of the SLP to see if we can increase the percentage of affordable housing from 20% up. HMO reports coming out to Cabinet next week, looking at how we can tighten control look at how we can tighten controls over the number and quality of HMOs in the city. I was really pleased to be able to support the Blackbridge project using the SIL money. The planning enforcement team has increased in numbers and we're starting to actually take some action now. And the accessible play strategy is nearly complete as well. So lots of good things that are happening in my area.
Thank you. Anybody else? We accept the report? Yep. Yeah. Rebecca, I think it's you. Armed Forces Community Covenant update.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm really proud to present this update on our Armed Forces Community Covenant. It's a vital commitment that ensures those who serve or have served in our armed forces and their families are treated with fairness and respect. This report highlights the meaningful progress we have made. We currently support 83 armed forces households on our housing register, and recent policy changes have made it easier for veterans to access housing locally. Our commemorative events, including Armed Forces Day and VE Day, have brought our community together in recognition and remembrance. Importantly, Gloucester is home to over 5,123 veterans. This is a significant community whose contributions we must continue to honour and support. We've also strengthened partnerships through the Armed Forces Hub and Housing Subgroup, improving access to services and shaping future support. Internally, we continue to support our own staff who are reservists or veterans, ensuring our values are reflected in our workplace. Looking ahead, we're exploring a permanent Armed Forces Hub and creating a wall of remembrance, lasting symbols of our commitment. This covenant is more than policy, it's a promise that Gloucester stands with our armed forces community, not just in words, but in action. Thank you.
Anyone else? No, we'll accept the report. The next one is consultation on unauthorised camping policy. That's again you.
Yes, thank you again, Chair. An unauthorised camping policy is not just necessary but beneficial for our communities. I want to, however, outline why it is essential that we put our proposed unauthorised camping policy out for consultation. First and foremost, consultation ensures transparency and accountability. This policy will affect a wide range of stakeholders, and by inviting feedback, we demonstrate that our decisions are open, fair, and shaped by the voices of those that are impacted. It's about building trust and confidence and how we manage these sensitive issues. Second, consultation helps us balance competing needs. Unauthorised encampments raise concerns about public safety and environmental impact and community cohesion. But at the same time, we must recognise the human rights of individuals and the situations they find themselves in, which can be that they are homeless and rough sleeping. A consultation allows us to hear different perspectives and find a proportionate approach that respects everyone's rights while protecting our public spaces. Thirdly, consultation strengthens the quality of the policy. Feedback helps us to refine the policy so it is workable, lawful and compassionate, and ensuring that compliance with equality duties and human rights obligations. Fourthly, consultation reduces conflict and improves the implementation. When people feel heard, they are more likely to accept and support the outcome. This is particularly important for policies that involve such enforcement powers. Engaging early can prevent misunderstandings and foster cooperation between agencies and the individuals themselves. Consultation reflects best practice and statutory expectations. And in short, this is not just a legal exercise, it's a democratic one. Consultation gives us the chance to listen, learn and lead responsibly. I urge you to support, therefore, this step so we can deliver a policy that is fair, effective and rooted in community consensus. Thank you.
Anybody want to comment? Or would you accept it? Yeah. Item 10, Community Infrastructure Levy, Joint Committee Funding, allocations on the 25th of September 2025 meeting. Sarah.
Yes, the SIL committee met on the 25th of September. Declan had to sub in for me as the meeting was brought forward at short notice to make a decision on an urgent matter. The request came from Gloucestershire County Council to help close a funding gap for the M5 Junction 10 scheme. The committee committed to allocate up to 20 million to support this scheme. I brought this to Cabinet today as part of the terms of reference. Each member must report decisions made back to the Cabinet to allow it to be scrutinised. I welcome this decision. I welcome the decision to support this much needed scheme and help unlock future development.
Anybody else got a comment on it? Agreed? Yep. Number 11 is you again, Sarah.
Another riveting SIL one. This report aims to seek member agreement for Tewkesbury Borough Council to retain its position as host of the SIL committee and approve the attached terms of references which have had minor amendments. The host and terms of reference have to be reviewed a minimum of every 2 years, and that's coming up in January 2026. Tewkesbury were originally chosen as host as they receive most of the SIL money, as most of the development falls in their division. And as the process is already set up with the support services, it makes sense to continue with this arrangement. So I recommend that Cabinet approves this arrangement and the amended terms of reference.
Agreed? Yep. Number 12, that's you, Declan, isn't it?
Yep, Ripper. Okay, thank you, Jeremy. The purpose of the report before us tonight is firstly to report to Cabinet about any use of our RIPA powers. Just for anybody who's watching the live stream, RIPA stands for the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act 2000. It sort of it regulates how this council sort of has to do any investigations on members of the public, and there's a very strict legal framework that has to be followed. I can confirm that, as Jeremy has already said earlier on, we haven't used our RIPA powers over the last year. The report also has a purpose to recommend to Cabinet the approval of a new updated policy, and to note that the updated policy includes recommendations from a recent inspection from the Investigatory Powers Commissioner's Office, otherwise known as the IPCO. The background to all of this is, first of all, as I've already said, RIPA itself sets out the conditions under which councils may use investigatory powers. The council maintains a RIPA policy and a procedural guide, and RIPA itself ensures that any use of power is necessary, proportionate and lawful. Our council is supposed to review our RIPA policy annually, and we do. The procedure requires our use of RIPA to be reported to the Cabinet, which I've just done tonight. We haven't used it over the last year, haven't used it for some years, actually, if truth be told. And normally, historically, no changes have been required to our procedures if the practice and the guidance have remained stable over the last few years. However, in the last year, the IPCO has given us an inspection, and we have produced, therefore, a targeted update of policy and practice to fit in and implement the recommendations from the IPCO. The key themes are clarifying key roles and accountability, setting explicit controls for internet-based activities, record-keeping improvements, and closer authorisation and safeguards will be set out now in the policy. So the key policy changes are around governance and accountability. So therefore, we now have a RIPA Senior Responsible Officer who's our head of paid service. The RIPA Coordinator will be the head of transformation and commissioning, and the RIPA approvers will be head of finance, head of culture and leisure, and head of place. With regards to internet and social media investigations, there is a new process for online inquiries, including social media. All activity must be necessary, proportionate, and recorded with a verifiable audit trail. Record retention, as regards RIPA-related records, we only will hold them as long as necessary, and we will make sure there's secure disposal arrangements. With regards to training, there will be a renewed programme of training will be instigated for senior officers and potential investigating officers. The policy itself will now be brought to Cabinet for review annually, even if the powers are not used, to ensure that it's still fit for purpose. So effectively, that's the report. It sort of reports to the Cabinet what use of RIPA powers that we've had. In our case, we haven't used any. And it's recommending the approval of the new updated policy. So we're asked to resolve the annual update on the Council's use of RIPA powers, and those powers have not been used since the last update being noted. And I think it's Council itself who have to resolve that the updated RIPA policy be approved. So we're asked to resolve to note that we haven't used the powers over the last year.
Okay, yep. That's approved. That's the end of the meeting.